The point of the book is like when you find your true goal, your life becomes a celebration. And most of us, I think we have like external instructions and like things that we know we need to do out here. Most of the blocks, I would say, are internal though. There's like an emotional component to success that few people rarely touch on. And so when it comes down to it, we're 99.9% of the time getting in our own way. It's not that the world's the problem. It's that we need to move through some resistance that we have, some blocks that we have. And sometimes we think we want something that is not really for us. Like there's a shiny goal, there's something that, has status, or it'll make your ego big and make you feel superior to somebody. And those types of goals are very superficial. They're not necessarily the goal that matches your soul.
Okay, so the is so important that we have a catalyst in our lives, whether that be that person that's a jerk to you, whether it's, the boss, whether it's your situation. You have to feel pain to move up. Is that correct? Is that what I'm getting? Because I feel it.
I think that's absolutely true. Like I wish it wasn't true, but it's been my experience and the experience of pretty much everyone I've ever worked with. Because when we break into something new, we have to leave whatever was old behind. It's like a snake shedding its skin, or, there's probably lots of different examples here. But yeah, without that pain, we usually don't make any changes. So until it kind of becomes unbearable, we're not going to actually implement anything new because nervous system is set at a certain threshold. I took it all literally too before the pandemic, like straight up. I was like, oh, you could just jump to a new timeline. Oh, okay, cool. And then we all were going through it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's clearly not how this works. Like, we're sharing the reality here. You don't just get to escape it. I think there's a lot of like escapism. And I want to warn people against that because this is not about escapism. We're here to have an amazing human experience. It's fun. Our soul wanted a human experience. It wanted to play by these rules. And on the other side, then it's infinity and whatever. And it's like we were talking about this in one of our calls this week. It's like there's that Talking Heads song where it's like in heaven is a place where nothing ever happens. Like we wanted a challenge. We wanted this experience. We wanted to play by these rules for some reason. And so how do we embrace that and enjoy it for what it is instead of resisting it and being salty with the world for not just like giving us every single whim that we visualize on the couch? That's not even fun. That would just be boring.
All right, I have Owen Hunt on the podcast. I'm excited. Hi.
Hi, it's great to be here, Nada. You can call me by my birth name, which is Owen Hunt, or my alter ego, where Google can find me much more easily, which is Bootsy Greenwood. People may know me by that name. We can get into the story if you want, whatever you want. I'm happy to be here with you and hanging out today. So thanks for having me.
Yay. And I'm going to start off because how we met was hilarious. Okay, so I follow Bootsy Greenwood on social media platforms. That's how I didn't know his name was Owen Hunt. As a matter of fact, I kept on calling him Owen Scott. But I know why. I figured out why I kept on calling you Owen Scott, but for later. And Owen put out a post saying, hey, I'm going to do a cross-country road trip, and I'm looking to hang out with peeps, meet up with complete total strangers. And I saw that, and I'm like, I'm up for this side quest. Now, normally, I'm not really into, like, I'm in my own world when I go out and about into the, world. And so I keep to myself. I don't really engage with people. But with this, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I think I could do this. So when I replied to your post, I was like, pick me, Pikachu, hopefully we can connect. And we did. Two perfect strangers, not knowing each other, I'm just following him, Bootsy Greenwood. He's never seen me ever. And we just decided to connect, and we lived to tell about it.
Yes, that's the most amazing part, honestly. No one's like in a wall or something at this point. But yeah, I mean, I think you have to take risks, and I'm sure there was lots more stigma maybe years and years ago when the internet sort of like started and formed or whatever. But like I'm putting myself out there, you're receptive to connect and learn, for us to do an adventure. And we went and hiked up a big mountain with a beautiful overlook and met new friends on that. And then went all over LA, bookshops and cafes, and just had an awesome day. It was a really fun adventure. We took the subway, which I didn't even know LA even had a subway. We had a little impromptu dancing session in the Esquina over there. It was an awesome, awesome day and so much fun. We had a blast. I'm glad we did it. And thanks for being brave enough and willing.
And I'm going to add a little bit of drama in there. We almost died hiking because even though Google said it was a light to moderate hike, it was actually beyond moderate.
Yeah, we went to the Wisdom Tree, and man, it was steep getting up there. It was very steep, but it was a beautiful view. And then we met actually shot a video on top of, I still have that footage, by the way, but I shot a video on top of the mountain and then interviewed some new friends. They were like watching me create my video, and then they clapped at the end.
Did. Awesome. You had your own little entourage there. I'm like, look at this guy, whatever.
It was so funny. And then at the end of the day, I dropped my phone in Santa Monica as we were going to meet for to have drinks or whatever. And yeah, sure enough, it just died right there and right in front of the Apple store. And you made the best joke because you were like, it's just like a force field right around the Apple store that just sucks your phone out of your hand and makes it fall to the ground. So you have to go in and get it fixed. And that was the day before Thanksgiving. And I had signed up for a training and a seminar starting on Thanksgiving. So I had no phone for the whole day, which was kind of a cool experience, honestly. And I had to drive around LA, using MapQuest, back in the day.
Print 3 pages, 4 pages, all ads.
No, I wrote it down. Can't even read my own handwriting. Then I got to follow the directions backwards to get where I was. So which was impossible. Definitely got lost. But really, really fun and amazing, and so nice to have reception coming in to a place and somebody to talk and share and really, just communicate about these principles and ideas in real life, and then actually see them happen together. It was a phenomenal trip. Yeah, really cool.
And you bring up a really awesome point, because one of the reasons why I do these podcasts is because I want to meet people like me, and I want to pick people's brains. I want to learn from them, and hopefully they learn something from me. It's a reciprocal healing sometimes, and different perspectives that you gain because someone has a different objective perspective on what you're saying or doing, and it enlightens you. And more people are feeling lonely because as the collective is waking up, they're like, oh, what is this? What does this mean? Who can I talk to? They're really now separating away from their safety zones of family and friends and becoming that black sheep again. More than likely they were already a black sheep when they were growing up, but now it's again happening in adult life. And it's hard to find a tribe, especially what I find for myself is a local tribe, right? Not just how we meet in these web meetings, or you happen to just post and I'm like, I'll be there, whatever. Most people aren't going to be as open to those experiences like I am. Don't get me wrong, I have my bestie, track me on the iPhone, in case I die.
Right. Of course. I would have encouraged you to do that. Just don't drop it in Santa Monica in front of the house.
Right.
Fine.
Oh my God, that's Santa Monica. And I even said, I bet you there's an Apple store here.
Yeah, and you looked it up, and it was literally 100 paces and over to the left. So funny. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, obviously, everybody be safe. Don't just go out there and meet strangers off the internet on a whim, use your intuition and also critical thinking. skills
Yes.
and yeah, be safe, of course. But, the point is to connect with people who have similar values, ideas, because like when we do that, like we reinforce those about it's kind of funny, like who we surround ourselves with the most. This is an old self-help teaching, but it's like the law of five, I think is what they call it.
Mhm.
Like you are the average of the five people that you hang out with the most. And that's kind of it's kind of a hard thing to swallow because we love the people that we're around. We love our friends. We love our family. It's not that we want to shun anybody or say anybody's bad or any of that. But the truth of it is, if you sat down and you said, okay, well, the five people I hang out with, here's their net worth, here's their health, here's, all of these categories, here's their fulfillment, their happiness in their life, you will notice that you are following that same trajectory. So to get into a new group, whether it's virtually or ideally in person, where people share values, people are fulfilled, they're doing well financially, they're taking the type of risks that you want to take, by whatever projects that they're putting themselves into, they're connecting and putting themselves out there, whatever it is that you want to do, you want to get into that energy. That energy is contagious. All energies are. And so
It's
that's going to
true.
really, influence you and help you to move in the direction that you really want to go in because you're going to see other people. You'll key off them even subconsciously that, oh, well, they did it. And so many people, if they have, let's say they're naysayers and they just are skeptical, right? Like I find that, there's a lot of people very low energy usually. They're skeptical and they're, grumpy and they don't believe anything new or different is possible for their life. Well, if you're around that energy and you're like, hey, I want to travel across the country, they're gonna be like, well, how are you gonna do that? Right? They'll have like a condescending tone. And what does that do? That subconsciously brings your energy down. So put yourself in a room, put yourself around people that inspire you, that encourage you, that cheer you on, that support you, because if as much as you love people that, and you can still love them, you can still be friends with them, but as much as you love those people, if they're not really supporting you and cheering you on and encouraging you toward your goals, I would keep those goals private. I wouldn't be careful who you share that with because that energy it's a real thing.
And that I was just gonna say that because Neville Goddard, not just him, a whole bunch of people, they've said work or move in silence, and I have really taken that to heart, and I feel like I can accomplish so much more practicing that, even though it's a lonely route, because it just takes that one person that you really love talking to or whatever, and they say it in such a, maybe they're having a bad day, but they say it in such that condescending tone that it affects you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like, oh, okay, well, never mind, and it's so true because you value people, you value their opinions, but there has to be a point in a time where you just need to shut that out and be within yourself and be and walk that walk of loneliness, in doing these things, because it'll be better for you in the long run, because like you said, to your energy you will start to attract the people that you want to attract. But let's move back a little bit, because I think first and foremost you have to figure out what you want.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, that's critical. If you don't know what you want, you're just kind of like wandering aimlessly, you know. Yeah, but I would say just to add on to that one more thing, like anyone's opinion is an invitation for you to check out their results. So if they don't want what you have, then I wouldn't necessarily take that advice, right? Like there's so much bad advice. I'm from the South. We have the dumbest sayings down here, and people were just like such haters. And so there's all these different colloquialisms like, oh, blah blah blah, whatever. But truly, if someone who has never done really anything that they haven't taken a risk, they haven't gone broke, they haven't put themselves out there, they haven't done any of those things, then I'm not really concerned with what their opinion is. Like their opinion to me is not extremely valuable, and very likely a lot of those people, they, to your point, probably don't know what they want. So we can start there and talk about how to think about that and identify it, because if you don't know what you want, if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't really matter where you are.
And I do want to approach that because this is your niche. This is where you help and you coach people into starting with the basics of where are you now, where do you want to go, and exploring that process, whatever that process is. And I know they use many foundational books to help you. The majority one I think is reality transurfing.
Hmm.
So explain what it means to when you get a client and they're in a place where they just don't know.
Yeah, I would say most of my people would have an idea. But if they don't know, then I have a lot of tools for that too. Because I got so excited when I found the book, and he talks about finding your true goal. The point of the book is like when you find your true goal, your life becomes a celebration. And most of us, I think we have like external instructions and like things that we know we need to do out here. Most of the blocks I would say are internal though. There's like an emotional component to success that few people rarely touch on. And so when it comes down to it, we're 99.9% of the time getting in our own way. It's not that the world's the problem. It's that we need to move through some resistance that we have, some blocks that we have. And sometimes we think we want something that is not really for us. Like there's a shiny goal, there's something that, has status, or it'll make your ego big and make you feel superior to somebody. And those types of goals are very superficial. They're not necessarily the goal that matches your soul. Didn't mean to make a rhyme there, but the idea is that we each have a very unique essence. And your essence is what unlocks the door to your true goal. And in order to find what that true goal is, you'll play around a little bit, but ultimately you need to be able to see yourself for who you really are, and not the concept or identity that you think you are or have been labeled throughout your life. So it takes some pulling back of some layers to really see the shape of your soul, the way that you express your energetic signature, however you want to call that, so that you have a better idea and you can access your zone of genius, which is something that's honestly easy for you to do and really fun and energizes you. Because once you start to do that thing, well, that sets you apart completely from the pack, and you're not following somebody else's model, somebody else's map. You're no longer a parody, so to speak, but you can work toward what Vadim calls your star sector, meaning the thing that really suits you and sets you apart in a very unique and authentic way.
Now, you went through a lot, or you were going through a lot, I should say, when you found this book. So you have the experience to say, hey, I've been through there, been there, done that, and through these principles that I've learned through here, I've transformed my life. Is that a correct statement?
It is correct. I had help from mentors and other people because I needed to make it actionable, like actualize the information. But the information itself completely changed the way that I saw the world. I tried to implement it myself and ultimately wound up hoarding knowledge in a lot of ways. And then when I really got serious about changing, when I really was like, all right, I'm kind of stuck, that's when I really started to make some real momentum. Because I was also chasing a bit of a false goal, just because I thought, oh, stand-up comedy, it's so alluring. I'm on the stage, everybody's laughing, and I'm so great or whatever. And I still really like doing stand-up comedy, but at the time I couldn't really see that it wasn't, at least at that time, my true goal or path. And once I kind of opened myself up and realized, hey, like I have other skills and talents that are easier. Like I was just like writing jokes, and I'm like, I hate this. Like I'm driving 8 hours. I'm going to a comedy club and saying the same 5 minutes to people who are frankly hammered and don't care about anything spiritual or esoteric or outside themselves. They just wanted to laugh at dick jokes. And everyone, dick jokes are funny, but but I just did not feel like I was hitting my potential or doing the thing that came the most naturally or was in my zone of genius by doing that and just kind of repeating myself over and over. And so once I kind of realized, oh, well, this isn't necessarily my true goal. I want to help people. So I started making more YouTube videos and being very intentional about that and teaching more of this stuff because I had known it for about 10 years. When I first found the model, I was a complete train wreck. Like I was drunk all the time. I was smoking cigarettes, weed, whatever, and just had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I was definitely in a really, really tough spot.
So, can you explain on the zone of genius? What is that, and what are the components to achieve that?
Yeah. So there's a book called The Big Leap by a guy named Gay Hendrix, and he taught Bonnie Raitt and many other artists. She's one great example. Kenny Loggins was another one that he coached. And so what he says is we have four zones. There's the zone of incompetence, the zone of competence, the zone of excellence, and the zone of genius. And so the idea of the big leap is to go from the zone of excellence, which is when you're doing something that you're pretty good at, like you're good at it, and people expect you to do it, and it's pretty conventional though. So whatever that is, like maybe you're an accountant, maybe you're a stand-up comedian, who knows? But you're good at it. But to jump into that zone of genius is a flow state where you're doing something that is completely unique to you. It really suits your onboard capacity, your skill set, and your abilities that are very natural. So it's about understanding that. So Bonnie Raitt, as an example, she was doing like blues clubs as a blues singer and guitar player. Very, very good, plays the slide, really good blues player. But she wasn't breaking out. She was just doing these clubs. She's relatively unknown. So, as far as things go, like people are like, oh yeah, Bonnie Raitt, great guitar player, whatever. Then she started working with Gay Hendrix and she started making more like pop music that was mixed with blues and singing and creating something that was very unique to her. Like if you hear a Bonnie Raitt song, like her or not, it's pretty evident that it's Bonnie Raitt. It's
Right.
not a cover of some blues song or whatever. So that's when she really started to hit her rise of success, was by accessing that zone of genius.
Okay. And to your point, we all have that zone of genius. It's just we're trying to figure out how to get there. And that it becomes its own journey. And I feel like when you start asking the question, is there something that I should be doing? Is there more out there? You automatically fall into a healing journey in parallel to finding out what you're meant to do or what I'm jumping around all over the place because that's how my brain works. But not only do you go in that direction of what you're supposed to be doing, but that in itself is an evolution, and you keep jumping from space to space to space. So you may start something, but then as you continue on this healing journey and working on whatever excites you per se, then that will evolve into something else. So I feel like that could also be a point of frustration for others because you're not settling into one mold at any given time.
I can understand the frustration. Yeah, that all comes from the mind. The mind wants certainty and it wants finality, right? But what's final? Is spring the last season? Is it the first season? Is summer? There's no end. Nothing ends. So, like, there's no end point, but we want to think that there is, especially in our like very up and to the right, like left brain dominant society where like, oh, we're going to build this building and then but then, toilets break, in the building, the elevator doesn't work anymore, whatever, right? Like there's always something that's popping up. And I think we're in constant evolution, consistently redefining ourselves and learning more and more about what it is that we do or refining that. So you probably will get like a pretty clear direction. And that's why in the book he says, your life will become a celebration when you find your true goal, not when you accomplish it. That's not how it works. I've accomplished lots of goals, and a lot of times thinking that the goal would make me feel complete, and then I would get to that goal and it was a complete mirage, and I would feel just as empty as when we started out. I used to make music and make records, and we'd like work so hard a whole year on an album. And it was really fun making the album. We're doing overdubs and getting into it and trying this, trying that, seeing what works. By the time the album's done and then it comes in the mail or is published, you're just like, okay, now what? You know?
Yeah.
And if you don't have another thing to undertake, then you just feel kind of empty.
So I like that you made the distinction between having your goals, accomplishing your goals, but just the journey of finding out what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, because we are goal achieving machines, as David Bayer states in his podcast. So we're here to achieve anything that we set our mind to, and I don't think we give ourselves enough credit to achieve a state of happiness in something that you like, because we're just trying to survive. Right? I think we're just in survival mode 24/7, paycheck to paycheck, whatever the case may be. And so you may not be able to go outside your norm to try and explore things that you may like. So what would you say to the person that is kind of in that mindset right now that, well, gosh, I would like to figure things out, but how would I even start?
Well, yeah, for that person, that's kind of it's actually the fun part. If I could go back to myself, like when I found this book and it was like, oh, when you find your true goal, your life will be a celebration. I was like, I got to find my true goal. I was so excited. And actually what that created was downstream, it created resistance, strangely, because I had so much, it was such a big deal. It's what the author calls importance. So at the beginning of the podcast, I was saying, okay, like there's emotional component to success that most people never talk about. And this is one of those things that can get in our way. It's one of those internal blocks. It's you having a lot of importance for something. If you put something on a pedestal, it's what? Very hard to reach. It's impossible, right? And so the more that we have a lot of angst or craving, I think would be a really good word to use here, the more we're actually pushing the thing away. So if you chase something, what's the natural instinct of something that's being chased?
It'll go further away. It's kind
It
of like,
runs. Right. If
yeah.
you start running at me, I love you, but I'm gonna run the other way, dude. You know what I mean? If we would have first met and I'm like, Nada, like,
I'm thinking of Pepe Le Pew. He's walking around chasing that cat, and the cat's running away, but he always gets her.
well, he gets her in a pretty not
Exactly. It's not what you want.
Right. That's not what you want. The idea is not to have to coerce or force people into your will, right? Like, oh man. So a couple of things with that is enjoying testing different things out. And there's a lot of great things that you can do exercise wise. One great place to start is something called the Ikigai, Ikigai. It's a Japanese model for finding your reason for being is what it's called. And it's what the world needs, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what you like doing. So if you just take some time and journal about each one of those categories, and then you start to see some overlap between the four categories, then that'll help you to kind of identify, like, what are my strengths? What do I like doing? What does the world need? And one thing that I like to do to contrast that, and I would say this too, like, sit down and write down what you don't want. Like that's so much like noise in the back of our mind, that things that we think we should do, or this or that, or like something that was on TV or something that our parents said that maybe is just kind of going on in the background. It's like refrigerator hum noise, and it's taking up some space. But if you start there with like, here's what I don't want, and you can clear so much space. Be like, well, I don't want to live in Cleveland, I don't want to live in whatever, right? Like Zimbabwe or wherever. Like, what are your preferences? What do you not want? Well, I know that like X, Y, or Z thing comes with this price tag. I would have to travel a lot, or I would have to drive 8 hours on no sleep every single night, and then get up and be broke and say the same thing over and over again. If you don't like saying the same thing over and over again, you're not going to like being like a speaker, proper public speaker that has a speech that they say every single place they go. So you're like, I don't want to repeat myself. Okay, well, get rid of that, and then you don't have to entertain that as a desire or something that you want to pursue. So that would be the place that I would start, and then do something like the Ikigai to kind of guide you to understand what your preferences are, what your skills are, what the world needs, and what's fun and enjoyable for you. Because if you can synthesize those 4 quadrants into something, then all of a sudden you can have a lot of fun, and you can actually have energy that is propelling you forward, as opposed to being drained like most jobs do to us at the end of the day.
That's so true. And I'm going to piggyback on the not putting importance, because I think for the whole book, and it's a huge book, it's 7 volumes, and you can find them on YouTube, put into one. But the hardest concept for me was letting go of the importance, because it's another way of saying like letting go, or like go with the flow, or like Bruce Lee says, be like water, But it's so hard, because we're always in a constant state of worry and stress. Where are we going to do this? Especially in times right now, I have to say we are probably heightened in all sorts of everything, right? Everything has kind of blown up, literally. And that's, to me, I think I'm finally at the other side, but I still have my moments where, well, shit, if I don't put importance on it, then how is it going to get done, right? Well, that is where you have to say, I'm not worried about the how, I'm just worried about what I want in the end, and let itself like figure itself out in the middle. And that is so difficult, because that is letting go of control. And then one thing I try to tell myself is to be in control is to let go of control. And that is the hardest thing, especially when you're in a pickle at the moment, when you're in situations that you just do not see any outlet, whether you be homeless, whether you be jobless, whether, anything. It's just very hard to see that. But in this book, Reality Transurfing, that is probably, to me, the biggest component that I took away, was to put the least important. Now, it doesn't mean don't care about it. That's different. But don't put it, like you said, on that pedestal. It's not a priority. The priority should be, what I think, is yourself.
Yeah, the quote that he uses is to take care without worrying. Mm-hmm. So you are like in integrity, you are doing what needs to be done, but without like obsessing over it. The more you obsess over it, the more you're just like creating this loop and all of this importance and resistance and all of that. So really, the thing to do is to just start. Like, that's what I think, just, you don't have to finish, just start. Like whatever the thing is that you want to do, just start it. And then you'll start to see, as you start it, what the next move is and how to tweak it and how to iterate, because it's going to take iteration. We want to like have this, again, like the mind just wants the sense of finality. Here's what's going to happen, and it's going to go just like this, and then exactly like to play. Like, dude, yeah, hilarious. You make plans, God laughs. We all know this. So why do we keep making plans again? It doesn't mean that you don't have like a direction or a goal that you want to achieve, but you need to let go of the exact set of steps that you think is going to get you there. So if you can say, hey, I want to do X, Y, or Z, I'm going to start in that direction. And then you start trying things. And then you learn from people who have done it before. And then you take their advice, and then you find somebody else who has some other ideas that you can bounce off of, and you try something together, or whatever. However the process starts to play itself out, then you'll wind up creating your own process in doing that. And so what you ideally would like is something that's unique to you, a process that works for you. And it's going to be different than everyone else's, but it's going to have similarities too. Like a framework is a framework, and you try that, even if it is conventional, and you're like, well, I don't like this part, or I don't like that part. And then you tweak it and you customize it and you tailor it to yourself so that it makes sense for you. And then it's a flow. That's now what happens is, by following that process, it puts you into your zone of genius. And what you find is being in the zone of genius is better than any goal you can accomplish by doing the zone of genius. Like, these are just markers that you're in that zone. And when you feel like in the flow, find me anything better than that. Like, there's nothing better than just that experience and being in the process, but like completely given over to it, where you're out of the way. It's not even you anymore. It's just coming through you. I mean, show me anything that's better than that. And then that's why the Bhagavad Gita talks about you're entitled to the action, not the fruit of the action. And Vadim says something very similar to that in transurfing. It's really about being so immersed in what it is that you're doing that you're just having an amazing time with it.
Yeah, and I like that you brought that out, because in my own evolution, I had started this podcast a few years ago, and I had a certain goal, and I was just fixated on this goal. I'm going to make sure that my message is clear for people to help them, and blah 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 blah. I had this thing. It ended up putting a lot of pressure on me, myself, because when I would ask people to join and I would get rejections, I would be like, I must not be good enough, or whatever. So, or my goal isn't clear enough, or something is not right. So I let it go completely. But then now that I'm doing this again, it comes with a completely different perspective, which is not about pressure anymore. It's about, I love to meet people like me who are similar to me. I enjoy talking to them because I have this thirst for knowledge. I have this need to get as many perspectives as I can while I'm still able to get these perspectives. And let's see where this takes me to. And when you and I met last year, when you came to visit, you were also trying to figure out how to evolve yourself and what your next steps were going to be in your evolution of your entrepreneurship, of what you bring to the table. And from the sounds of it, it looks like you're achieving that. But the main point being is, like, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you took a different perspective on how you're approaching things to also relieve that pressure off of yourself.
Yeah, I think you have to. It's almost like stepping back and trying to be as observant as possible, as opposed to being like so much in the participant role. I mean, we're both. That's kind of what's cool about it. And this model particularly, it's like you're immersed, like I was talking about before. So you do get the emotions and the experience of being in whatever it is, but you can also remove that awareness and make it like further away, like more objective, so that you can actually see the process and you're not like basically just being like pushed around by your emotions. So one of the analogies that he gives is like, imagine a fly trying to like fly out of a window, and it's like keeps flying its head into the window and flying its head into the window. Well, if it would just fly backwards, the window over here might be wide open. It could just fly out of that window, and then it would be on the other side of the window where it wanted it to be. But because it's got such tunnel vision, it can't see, it can't get any perspective on the situation. So I think when we remove ourselves, that's how we're able to really get an idea of what it is that could be done. That's why I think mentors are so helpful, right? Like they have a much more objective view. They can help you see your blind spots. And then that way you can be kind of like that fly coming, out of the window, beating its head against, and then go around through the other window and then around to where it is that you want to go.
And I'm glad that you said about mentors, because um, doing that process is, to me, probably the hardest thing to do. I think you can work through emotions and you will get somewhere. You'll get, if you have the true intention of, like, working through your emotions, you'll get there. But to release, to let go so freely, freely, and just not put any emphasis on it, or as much emphasis, I should say, is hard to achieve. I think, in theory, everything makes sense in theory. You tell me everything in theory, I got it for sure. I can't restate it. I'll do a dissertation on it. Like, I'm down for the theory. Doing, I'm like, right. I just want to somebody real quick, do some Muay Thai moves, and it's hard to get back to center when you're at that point.
Yeah, it really is. That's a really good observation as well. Yeah, I mean that. So in my experience, I found the book, and then I was reading a lot of other self-help books. It mirrors what a lot of other spiritual books say, but it really, for me, like, put it all underneath one roof. And I was like, okay, well, this makes sense. I have a model now and a framework, and that allowed me to really shift a lot. And then I started to implement what I could, but ultimately, until I had some real, I don't know how you would say it, like, catalyst to really implement it, I wasn't able to go as far as I wanted to, not on my own. And that was one of the things that kind of held me back, was that it definitely allowed me to open my mind to certain things and see some of my blind spots and be able to go after things that I never thought possible for myself. And some of them I was successful at, which was another miracle. But until I really got out of my own way and also had some skin in the game and, had to be accountable, I wasn't really able to, I was kind of like hoarding knowledge, maybe, right? Like, just like, oh, I got all this knowledge. Like, and then it's like, okay, great. But, like, that's not the difference. That's like data. That's like data, holding on to data. Like, okay, cool. I got all this data. Yeah. Right. Cool. Neat. But that's not knowledge, right? It's certainly not wisdom, because you're not actively applying it. So I could, like, maybe say the things back and forth and up and down, but until I really focused it and started to work on, because I think real learning is behavior change. It's not memorization. So
I like that catalyst analogy that you said, because we don't take advantage because we're so caught up in the emotion of the catalysts that take over. Oh, okay, hold on. My brain is going a million miles. The hamster is going too fast. Hold on. Like, I know I'm trying to say, but I'm like, bleh, not coming out.
no.
Now I forgot. Brain fart. Okay, so the is so important that we have a catalyst in our lives, whether that be that person that's a jerk to you, whether it's, the boss, whether it's your situation. You have to feel pain to move up. Is that correct? Is that what I'm getting? Because I feel it.
I think that's absolutely true. Like, I wish it wasn't true, but it's been my experience and the experience of pretty much everyone I've ever worked with. Because when we break into something new, we have to leave whatever was old behind. It's like a snake shedding its skin, or, there's probably lots of different examples here. But yeah, without that pain, we usually don't make any changes. So until it kind of becomes unbearable, we're not going to actually implement anything new, because nervous system is set at a certain threshold. And so when he talks about jumping timelines, this is exactly what it is. Your nervous system is like, okay, I'm comfortable here. This is your comfort zone. It's on this trajectory. Like, this is where the nervous system feels safe. Now, until you challenge that nervous system, which is going to require some pain, some discomfort, then you can't ascend or jump to a new timeline or lifeline or trajectory until you actually put yourself in a position to face what comes with that. So whatever that winds up being, you have to challenge the level that your nervous system, it's actually like wired in. Your brain's like survival mode. That's all this resistance, all this stuff coming from the brain. Because the heart wants to jump up and have a new experience. The heart's like, yes, let's do it. And the mind's like, no, we're safe here. We're safe. This is the amount of status that we're allowed. This is the amount of influence we're allowed. We're safe here. No one's trying to kill us. But if we go up anymore, somebody might try to kill us. Somebody might call us a narcissist or a megalomaniac or whatever. I've had all kinds by this point. It's hilarious. But it's like, like brain's like, no, we were going to keep you safe. You have to be like, okay, listen, brain, it's going to be okay. We're going to challenge this and move up, and we'll both have a better quality of life if we work together. And that's another big part of the book, is it's having the heart and mind work together, heart and mind coherence. And I think like Dispenza talks about that, and lots of people. I think all the esoteric ultimately is that, because it's the chalice and the phallus, the masculine and the feminine polarities in the individual uniting. That's where pure, like real intention comes from. And that's where that essence is found, that uniqueness, the energetic signature of the person. That's what authenticity is. It's in that bridge between the heart and mind. And then once those two things are connected, then all of a sudden you start to move toward that goal. And it also kind of moves toward you too. You become magnetic toward it because you're exuding that essence. Like anything that's attractive or draws you in. There's great examples of this. Chris Farley being one, like, was so funny, so magnanimous, so magnetic, so charismatic. People just loved him. Was he like a traditionally physically beautiful male model? Far from it. But at the same time, people were just like drawn right into him. That's because he was operating out of that. And did he have some problems? For sure. And everybody does. It's not about being perfect, but really understanding that you have that essence that is unique to you, and bringing the heart and mind together. That's kind of the idea of the book.
I also want to touch base, because you mentioned something that's pretty big right now, is quantum leaps, which is changing trajectories, shifting timelines, all the same. And what I would really like to just expand on is that timeline shifts happen when you take action, when you step out of that comfort zone and take action towards that person that you see yourself being at the end of the road. And that was honestly, for a long time, something that I didn't understand. And I've read so many books, and I follow so many people on YouTube and stuff like that. But I don't think, at least in my experience, or maybe my ADHD kicked in and I just completely ignored it. In order for you to make that shift, you have to take the action into the unknown, which is going back to what you did. What you said was just start.
Yeah, I think every action that you take is a vote for the person that you are becoming or working toward, right? Like, so if you have this concept of who you would want to be, and like whatever the lifeline or timeline or quantum leap version of you is, you can get to that, but you're not just going to jump from here to here. That's right. Not how it works. So every small action that you take, which is also like compounding, right? Like each one of those actions, like you build momentum with those, and then you get closer and closer to that version of yourself, but it's through the action first. There's so much like out there on identity shifting. Just shift your identity. That doesn't mean lay on the sofa and like see a vision for yourself and then eat Cheetos and watch Netflix. That's not what that means. It means see that and do visualize it and have a clear objective and a clear intention, but also follow that with action. And like I even teach, the action comes first, because action leads to feedback, which leads to iteration. So it's better to take some action. And even if it's wrong action, then you learn what right action is and what is in alignment with you. Otherwise, if you just sit around and you're like, I'm going to wait until I am inspired by right action, well, then you'll never know what right action is because you haven't gone out and tried it. You got to make some mistakes. Successes are born from past failures. So there's no other way to find that out other than to take action. That's literally it. And so by taking the actions that you think would match the behavior of that person, you'll be able to tweak it. Like you'll be like, oh, well, it's not this, it's actually this. And then you will start to create those behaviors. And the more that you do those behaviors, the more you're creating like connections in the brain that have like neural pathways. And so like it makes those actions easier to take over time. So they're easier and easier and easier and easier and easier. And then they build compounding interest with the momentum. And ultimately the momentum starts to carry you. At a certain point, you don't even have to try nearly that hard anymore because you're on like an upward spiral trajectory. You've created a flywheel through the actions that you're taking. And so it's much less effort as you go up.
Two things: inspired action versus action. And then I also want to talk about the spiraling, because that's another thing too that not many people understand. So inspired action, to me, my opinion, is when, for me, I use it as a validation or a synchronicity that I'm on the right path and I should continue to go through that process of what I'm doing. So then it starts to create the flow. However, you don't always feel like you're in flow. You're not going to be in flow 24/7. That just doesn't happen. But you still have to take the action even when you're not inspired or in a good, state of mind or whatever to do it, because that's also going to give you the feedback, like you were saying, the feedback that you were talking about, to maybe shift on some, tweak something that what you're doing so you can get back to the state of flow so it gets easier and easier and easier.
Yeah, I would say just because you don't feel like you're in flow doesn't mean you're not in flow, right? And one of the tricks that we love to use is like, oh, I'm in my head, I feel so tense. Go further in your head, be more tense. And then you start to loosen up. It's kind of funny how that works. It's like a counter intention to the original thing that you want. So what? So you don't feel like, I don't feel like I'm losing weight right now because I'm not enjoying my workout. Well, you're still burning calories. So like, it's better if you do enjoy your workout, of course. But, just because you don't feel great right now, like you are, crushing it, then that doesn't mean you're not. So like, that's, I think, elusive. So like the inspired action, you don't wait on inspiration to take action. It's the other way. Because like one of the great analogies, I love this analogy so much, he uses in the book. He's talking about like he's talking about just this, like waiting for inspiration to strike. He's like, if you set the table and put on flowers and make the perfect dinner, and then you sit there and wait on the muse, she's never coming. But if you go ahead and you do all that and then you just start eating, she's gonna be like, what the hell, man? How could you, why wouldn't you wait for me, right? She'll stamp her foot and knock on the door. It's like Wayne Cohn of the Flaming Lips used to say this all the time. And it's one of my favorite quotes by him, but he's like, creating anything good is like a cosmic accident. Like you sit down and you don't know if it's going to come or not, but you still have to sit down and you still have to try. If you didn't try, it would never come. So it's like this beautiful cosmic accident where you sit down and you're like, okay, is this going to be the best song ever? And it's like, no, this is garbage. But the next time you sit down, and ultimately you find something that is awesome, but only through action.
Mm-hmm. No, I like those analogies as well. It brings it to practical terms to understand better. And then the whole thing about the spiraling up, doing the action is not a straight linear thing. I mean, you are going to go in spirals with some dips around, and I think, and I'm going to, I'm one of the ones too that you lose patience. You lose patience. The frustration sets in because, like you said, the gym thing, it's like you're going to the gym all the time, but you're not seeing the weight loss. And these journeys can take a lot of time. And I say can because I think that if you have smaller goals or easier to achieve, so they may not need a lot of time per se. But if you have bigger goals, then that if you have like if you want to be a multimillionaire, right? Let's just say multimillionaire, and you're nowhere near that, like you're negative in your bank account or whatever. Yeah, you're gonna take some time in that because that means you have to have your mind and heart aligned, mind heart coherence, because your body, your nervous system has to feel safe in your current environment before you can get to the next one. Because if you get to that, let's say you by chance you win the lotto, more than likely it's going to be a misalignment of the energies in your nervous system, because that's going to open up a whole new world of challenges that you never even anticipated and never experienced, and it's going to break you down. And this is more than likely why the people that win the lotto lose the money shortly thereafter. So it is a work in progress, and for the most part it takes the time, and I just don't want people it's okay to feel what you have to feel, whether you feel defeated at times or whatever, but know that if you keep pushing, if you keep going, if you keep taking the action, then you will start to see breadcrumbs of those achievements.
Yeah, I think the milestones, right? Like on the way to the goal, right? Like to your point. And one of the things he says is sometimes you have to take the fortress by lengthy siege. I also love that quote because like that lessens that importance, that tension that comes about by like, I got to do this thing and I've got to do it now. And it's like, whoa, now you're stressed. Your system's all tight. You're not going to do anything properly if you're not relaxed first and in an energy where you can actually like be in the flow. So, yeah, you want to be a multimillionaire and you have $7 in your bank account. Well, get 700. Like, start somewhere, right? Like, you're not going to just, we want to all or nothing everything. And it's like, well, I'm going to make one YouTube video and then I'm going to get 1 million subscribers and then they're all going to pay me $1 billion. It's like, what? What are we, how delusional? Like, that's the wrong type of delusional.
Right.
There's good delusional and less good delusional. And like to think that you're just going to take one action and then everything's just going to pop off from there is it's not delusional. It's ridiculous. And it's just not the way that things go. And in truth, like to be able to be the person who's like as a multimillionaire or whatever, you have to become that person. You most people in the way that we're marketed to, it's like, okay, stay the same and get the result, right? Like be like a dude who like sits home and plays video games, smokes weed and eats Cheetos and get, Megan Fox or whatever. It's like, homie, it's not happening. You know what I mean? Like that's never going to happen. You might not want to become like MGK or whatever, like, like degenerate, but you will still need to become the type of person that would be attractive to that partner that you're seeking, as an example. Or you would still need to become the type of person that would conduct themselves as someone who has $100 million or whatever that goal is financially. You can't just stay, with the same beliefs, the same ideas about the world, the same version of you and get that result. You have to shift into that person. That's when they say identity shifting. But what I try to really emphasize is that identity shift comes by taking those next actions. Maybe that's saving $10. Maybe it's getting a savings account and putting $10 in it to start. That's the first small action. and then putting more in there, and then taking and doing a small investment in, I don't know, crypto or something, like whatever you think. And then, you start to do the behaviors that person, that version of you would do. And that's how that change really begins to catalyze. And that's how that upward spiral of momentum gets built. Because like those habits, and you focus on, a habit or two building at once. You don't try to build the whole house, all at the same time. Like, but you build those habits, and then those neural pathways are connected. It becomes easy. Like, for instance, if you're going to the gym, you go to the gym 3 times a week. You do that for a couple of months. Now all of a sudden it's an embedded habit. That's easy. Okay, pick another habit and then stack that one on it. Yep. And then that's how you start to slowly build that flywheel, or that upward spiral, and that wave of fortune, as he calls it. And then all of a sudden things do get easier.
And they do. That's one thing. Moral of the story is it does get easier. Once you find that momentum, then your only job is to maintain that momentum. Don't get comfortable.
Yeah. And you keep challenging yourself. But I think what's happened for me is that I start to recognize that tension and that sort of challenge and that pain that we talked about earlier in my system. And now I know on the other side of that pain is a huge reward, right? On the other side of that is a reward. So now my system starts to understand that, and then it becomes easier to move through that resistance. And then now when I get to the other side, it feels even better. So it becomes a thing where it's really not even about the result anymore. You just want that like cold bucket of water moment, or you just want that like thing that kind of shocks your system a little bit, because you start to get addicted to getting on the other side of it. Yeah. So whatever those things are, you start to really crave that experience instead of the actual outcome. And then that shifts you in the process focus instead of the outcome based. So you stop trying to control out here and you control in here. And internally, that's what's going to get the result. But ironically and paradoxically, the result won't matter that much once you start to do that work, that inner work.
And I have to say that I have the same experience as well, where now I'm finding excitement in the journey because I see the synchronicities that happen. When you're excited about the journey, you're like, oh my God, this is cool. This happened. What's going to happen next? Because whatever it is you think is going to happen is going to be completely wrong. It's in a way that you have no idea. Our brains are not big enough nor smart enough to come up with all these infinite potentials. And that part becomes addicting. I have to agree with you. Now it's just like, holy shit, this happened. Okay, when's the next one?
Yeah.
And you lose sight of the end goal. You really do.
Yeah, you start just becoming amazed by how the pieces are starting to fit together, and then you start to really engage in that. And nothing wrong with having a goal and accomplishing it. Like we're doing a comedy festival. It'll be great when that's over, but it's fun putting it together too. Like, oh, we're going to do this thing on this night, and then we're going to have this type of show on this night. Like that's the fun part. And then of course it feels great executing it. And then you get on the other side of it and you're like, oh, thank God, but like to your point, spot on. It does. It shoves you into process mode, because anyone on YouTube who's telling you they sit down and they just visualize something and it goes ever so is lying. Like they're snake oil salesmen for sure. Because I don't know, dude. I just don't think that's how it works. It's never worked for me that way, or anyone I've ever worked with or talked to, that where they just, I'm just going to sit down and I'm just going to visualize it and manifest it. It's like, okay, cool. I agree you should visualize. I agree you should manifest. But if you have no flexibility and you just assume that the world is going to just deliver it on a silver platter, like exactly in the steps and pattern that you saw in your head, like it's an Amazon delivery, then I've got news for you. Like if you're buying into that, I want to, just buy or beware. That's all I'll say.
But no, just to put it into context, because I use the Amazon analogy a lot. But my point being is that you still have to go in and select the item and add to cart
Hmm.
and hit and pay the thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You have to
yeah,
pay for the thing and then expect it to come in. Again, there's action. There's
yeah.
always the action about it.
That's right.
So that is the major point because I'm gonna right here, guilty. I was at one point sitting, oming, saying, okay, I took Neville's teachings, like literally, right?
Hmm.
Which is totally left brain because, bleh. But anywho's, uh, took it literally. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna assume the end and blah blah blah, and I just kind of ignored everything else. No, 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 no. We still have things will show up, like the circumstances and the people and everything will show up. You have to make the action. Just like I contacted you when I saw your post. You could have been a psycho serial killer. Who knew? I still went ahead and,
Right,
contacted you because I
right.
wanted that experience.
You could have been a catfish, and I I could have like wound up, like some dude in a clown suit in a unicorn van or whatever, like in the back, like what just happened? Like all of a sudden I'm in Breaking Bad. Um,
Worst case, I would have taken you to a rave. Yay.
that's best case, dude. I love a rave. I'll be like, no thanks. I don't want any drugs, but I do love to watch everybody dance around and have a good time and stuff. But yeah, I think so too. I took it all literally too before the pandemic.
Hmm.
Like straight up, I was like, oh, you could just jump to a new timeline. Oh, okay, cool. And then we all were going through it, and I'm like, okay, well, that's clearly not how this works. Like, we're sharing the reality here. You don't just get to escape it. I think there's a lot of like escapism, and I want to warn people against that because this is not about escapism. We're here to have an amazing human experience. It's fun. Our soul wanted a human experience. It wanted to play by these rules. And on the other side, then it's infinity and whatever. And it's like we were talking about this in one of our calls this week. It's like there's that Talking Head song where it's like in heaven is a place where nothing ever happens. Like we wanted the challenge, we wanted this experience, we wanted to play by these rules for some reason. And so, how do we embrace that and enjoy it for what it is instead of resisting it and being salty with the world for not just like giving us every single whim that we visualize on the couch? That's not even fun. That would just be boring.
And it would be total chaos. Imagine if we all got everything we manifested, like the amount of chaos that it would be in this world. So yeah, no, you're right. This is a better way, controlled and systematic. All
Yeah.
right. I can go on talking to you forever, which is how we spent our day until we were wiped out in the middle of the night, and we're like, "You just want to go home?" Yeah.
Right, dude. It was an awesome day, though. What a day. I mean, that was,
It was nonstop action.
yeah, it was a lot. We were all over the place, and it was great. And I think I'm so glad to catch up with you and see that you're doing so well and doing the podcast. Like we talked about this,
We
that
did.
on the day, and yeah, it was fun. And I can't wait. I'll be back in LA really soon, so we should definitely link up again.
Yes, definitely hit me up. I want to meet up with you and have some fun, explore some other places. And I'm sure we'll do another podcast because there's so much I want to talk about. And I really enjoy talking to you because I can be as silly as I need to be and I want to be. So, and I know you can't do. I was actually thinking you were going to come with your wizard hat and your cape, and I was thinking, should I put on my Palladian outfit for you, or like, I mean, I want to match your energy. Like, I'll totally do that.
No, that was so fun. I was this close to like leaving the Cape that morning too. It's one of the best things I ever did was bring that cape and wizard hat to the mountain.
Yes, and we have pictures on his social media, Bootsy Greenwood. It's on
Yeah,
there.
that's
True
right.
facts.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I wound up using that and turning it into like a tarot card and using it for like a flyer for a workshop and stuff. It turned out
Awesome.
pretty cool. Yeah, it was one of the pretty iconic-ish image, like a weirdo in a wizard's cape and a wizard's hat with shorts on, chicken
Yes.
legs just poking out of the bottom.
Outstanding. with the American flag.
With the American flag, yes.
With the
Pretty
American
cool.
flag.
Pretty
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, just looming over
it was a
LA.
lot of fun.
So much fun. Yeah. Thank you, Nada. It's so great to chat with you. And yeah, we'll definitely have to connect again when I'm back out there, and we'll do some more fun stuff. I have some amazing friends that I'll be with in tow, I think. And ideally, I'll have other people who live in LA come out and meet us again, too. So,
Awesome. Looking forward to it. All
me
right.
too.
Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
All right. That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Okay, real quick before we go, if people want to work with you and have them be you be their mentor, how can they get a hold of you?
They have to go underneath a drawbridge at the end of the night with a full moon, put on a cape and a wand, and howl in a very specific tone of 888 frequency. And then
Nice.
I'll materialize before them, and then we can have a discovery call.
I'm down. What bridge?
Yeah. Get the coordinates are on my website. But no, if people want to contact me, they can just Google Bootsy Greenwood, look up my YouTube channel. I have a school group, the Transurfing School, and that's got a lot of really good material in it. And also on Instagram, Bootsy Greenwood as well. So really all the platforms on Bootsy Greenwood. So you can just Google that and find me that way. And there's definitely ways to get in touch. Hop in the school group is a great way, or hop on my email list and just respond to one of my emails.
And your school community is actually very active because I'm a member of it, and there's always something going on. You bringing something to the table, live sessions, a book groups. What do they call book club books type of thing?
Yep. Yep.
I forgot what it's called, but there's a lot of engagement for the community, which is really cool, which is something that you don't really find in many other communities that I've joined because I'm trying to find people as weird as me. So,
Yeah, I love it. I really want to help people get this information, right? Like, however they get it, however they come about it, fine, is great. I'm just trying to put it out there and make it as concise, as simple, and as usable as possible. So I'm very active in the school group. I have a vested interest in teaching this because I want good to win.
yes,
Don't tell anybody that. Shh. It's our little secret.
I forgot what you said. Look at that. I have juvenile Alzheimer's. Thank you.
Cut that right out of the podcast. I have a reputation to uphold here. Um,
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much, Owen. And we will be in touch.
Thank you, Nada. It's been a pleasure.
Bye bye.
Bye.